One. It's just a real treat to be here and to discover that the theme for the month is releasing fear, because that's something that I'm really good at. I've become a major fear releaser over my life, and I'd like to just share with you some pointers today on how to have more joy, more love, more laughter by just feeding your faith. That's what you do. You starve your fears and you feed your faith. So the reading that he did from page 404 of the Science of Mind text is really a good page for you to reference if you have the Science of Mind textbook, because the entire page, well, 2 pages, is designed around moving from any anxiety, any fear you have, any early childhood memory you've got, anything that is blocking your aliveness, blocking your willingness to move forward and have a richer, more free lifetime experience. So what I'm doing today is I'm starving my fears, I'm feeding my faith, and I'm using that page 404 to paraphrase Ernest Holmes. So I'm just going to read you the hot points, and it's in my own words, not necessarily his. Fear is the negative use of faith. Fear blocks the expression of spirit. Fear believes in limitation. Love alone can overcome fear because it surrounds itself to the will of spirit, which is peace, power, clear thinking, and happiness. Ernest Holmes says that to overcome fear is the greatest adventure in the mind of man. I always change that to the mind of woman because that's what I am, because I want to personalize it. I want to own it as my own language, my own embodiment, because that's what our prayer practice of spiritual mind treatment is. It's embodiment of the desire that you are claiming, accepting, receiving, and giving gratitude for. So let me say this again. To overcome fear is the greatest adventure in the mind of man. But we don't overcome it by, muscling it or demanding it or focusing on it. We overcome it by surrendering it to something greater, and that something greater is always going to be love, a higher opinion, a higher blessing for someone that creates fear in you. If there is a person who you get anxious about and you pre-think how that experience the next time you see that person is going to be, then that anxiety is where you are placing your faith, and you're actually attracting it into your experience through the law of attraction. So we're called upon as thinkers to use this powerful thing called consciousness to gently be kind to ourselves and release ourselves from the prison that anxiety brings us. And we all have it. It doesn't matter if you're a transcendent master or a newbie. We all have lives. We all have human experience. We all have issues that we wish we never had to go through. My early childhood experience was a mixed blessing of living in paradise, because I grew up in Hawaii, with a very dominant military father, a warrior I call him, and with physical issues that made me what in Head Start programs we used to call a funny-looking kid. I had been born with closed tear ducts, and the remedy, the treatment that the military doctors would do in those days was to take this little infant Jaine and poke needles in her tear ducts 3 times a day to open them up. That severely damaged my muscles. So I had an eye that went this way and an eye that went this way. I had a surgery that brought them both in this way. And then I had another surgery that had it like this. I had those surgeries between the ages of 4, 7, and 11. And they offered me a final surgery at the age of 18, and I said, that's fine, I'm just going to have this weird eye and be okay. And it all gets corrected with glasses. But then you do a thing that I call compensating. Compensate for whatever lack, disability, issue that you're dealing with. And what the vision created for me as a child was that I would be laughed at by other kids. I would be mistreated for my funny-looking eyes. I would retreat into books and be shy. The fact that I am a public speaker amazes me. And the fact that I grew up into a minister and could do counseling sessions amazes me, because I am a shifty-eyed minister. And I do things to compensate. You know, I look at my feet, I look at the sky, I blink, I smile, I walk away, I come back to it. You all have something that you do physically or mentally or emotionally in your lives to compensate for something that you consider a weakness or an issue, past experience. And so what we're talking about today is finding the courage to live from a greater place of joy. Isn't it what we all want? Isn't it what we all deserve? You bet. Mark Twain says, courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear. It is not an absence of fear. So once I was doing the Asilomar conferences, and we had a breakout session, and this was years and years ago, and we had a tall pillar candle in a vase, and it was about this big, and there was gold and silver brush ink, and you were to decorate your candle and have it become part of your spiritual practice, okay? So they led up to this finally giving us the candle, and I'm like, I want to rush to the candle. And they're making us wait, and they're making us listen, and all of this. When I finally got to it, I used silver, and then I outlined the silver in gold to make it even more impressive to my own self. And all I wrote on it was, I will fear less. I will fear less. And it became my mantra for the last many, many years. I will fear less about everything. I will have a higher opinion of our government. I will have a higher opinion of the people in my workplace. I will even have a higher opinion of my family. I will fear less. And so today, we're going to look at that journey of life that we're all on. We might as well be on it together with other loving souls and spirits, kindred spirits. But this is a journey that teaches us if we're willing to listen and learn. If we're not willing to listen and learn, we will remain in some sort of struggle and strife. We'll have opinions of ourselves and others, and they'll hold us back from joy, from gratitude. So courage, let's talk about courage. Courage is personal bravery in the face of fear. Personal bravery in the face of fear. Think for a moment, one time in your life that you felt brave, that you did something anyway, even though it scared the heck out of you. That's the place in consciousness that you want to go every time something confronts you. You want to remember that you survived that one time. You want to remember how it felt to feel brave, to feel good about yourself, that you had actually gone ahead and done something even though you were scared about it. Personal bravery in the face of fear. Courage is doing what needs to be done, even if it's scary. You do it anyway, because it's there for you to do. But you can do it from choice place. You can do it from a choice of being terrified or a choice of being brave. It's always choice. Courage is going ahead when you feel just absolutely like you want to quit. You take on a volunteer project at the church, it becomes so much more than you ever thought you signed up for, and you'd like to quit, but then what would people think of you if you quit? And so you get all stuck in judgment and self-criticism, and you stay. But did you pour your love into that project, or did you do it out of fear? One of the hardest things for me to discover and experience as a newbie religious science volunteer in 1986 was how to be part of a team instead of how to be the boss. How to be part of a team, how to be a player, how to pull the juicy best energy out of all the other people on the team, how to honor them, how to be graceful and thank them. We'll get back to that. Courage is needed to try new things and to move through change. You know, some of us like change, some of us roll with it, and some of us just don't want it to happen, but it's going to happen. It's always going to happen. Change is constant. So courage is needed to try new things, move through change, make mistakes. That's a good thing. Make mistakes. Pick yourself up when you do make them, learn from them, and go forward again. The path of being in a human bag of skin is, it's a journey. And you are the hero if you allow for that in your journey. If you don't allow for it, then you become the albatross about your own neck. Picking yourself up and trying again is a specialty of religious scientists. And in the Tao it says, fall down 6 times, get up 7. It's more like fall down 172 times, get up 963 more. Courage is doing what you know is right, even if others criticize you, don't believe in what you're doing, ignore you, talk about you, shun you. Courage is doing what you know is right. How do you know it's right? You feel it in your heart. Courage comes from the heart, fueled by trust and faith. The very word courage comes from the French coeur, which means heart. And the outcome that Ernest Holmes talks about in that section on page 404 is all about, well, it's all about noticing where you place your faith. Because where you place your faith is what you get in life. It's your expectation of good and better coming to you at all times. Even when there are issues, there are challenges. It's obvious. We're living in a human set of conditions. But do we place our faith in what others are doing that is abusive of power or abusive of people, hurtful, war, famine? I have a daughter and a son-in-law who are 2 of my spiritual heroes. My daughter was a Head Start child, and she's now the medical director for 3 children's hospitals in the renowned system in Reno, Nevada. And her husband is a trauma surgeon, and he does missions every year for Doctors Without Borders. He just came back from a 3rd time in South Sudan. Every time he goes to these garden spots in the world, he comes back 40 to 50 pounds smaller than he went, because he eats like the people who are going through famine eat, because he will not take from them. He's there to give to them. They're my heroes, and yet I don't want him to go because it's scary. He was in Sri Lanka when the war was going on, and they blew up and took captive a whole group of these Doctors Without Borders, Sans Frontières, and we didn't know. We didn't know for nearly 3 months if he was alive or not. So I'd rather he didn't do these things. And he does them because that's who he is, and that's what he believes is right to do. So we all have heroes in our worlds. I really invite you to look at who are your personal heroes that you live up to and respect and want to emulate. And then I want you to add your own name to that list. I want you to be the hero in your own life that is willing to do the work to improve daily, more joy, more love, more freedom, more self-respect, less criticism, less holding back, less feeling small, more. You are more than that. Always, always, always. So I've spent my lifetime bearing witness to people who are brave. My mom, when I was little, as I was sharing, my mom was a very brave woman. And when I was going for my first surgery, Tripler Army Hospital, where my mother wasn't even allowed to stay with me. I was going to be a little kid in a hospital bed in a military hospital with Army nurses. You don't want to go there with me. And my mom said to me, Jaine Potsy, you have to be brave. You just have to be brave. And at 4, you kind of get it on a different level because you haven't given up on life yet. I was brave, and I was bandaged in total darkness, total blindness for 3 weeks after that surgery, laying in that bed, and I was brave, and I knew it. I knew it. When I went for my 7-year-old operation, I had forgotten how brave I was, and I was terrified. My mother again said, Jaine, now it was Jaine Francis because the Potsy was gone. Jaine Francis, you have to be brave. I can be with you this time, but only for 2 days. And it took me nearly that 3 weeks to recognize what that sense of bravery felt like again, to be self-confident and to own it. And that's just a distance of 3 years between being 4 years old and 7 years old. How quickly we can forget and park it. I went for my next one at 11, and I flew all by myself on a military transport from Big Island of Hawaii to Oahu to Tripler Army, checked myself in. I was remembering. You see, it's all a process. That was probably the hardest one of the surgeries, but it was the one that gifted me back, where I knew I could do this. So, you're familiar with The Wizard of Oz. In The Wizard of Oz, those characters represent everything heroically that we need to remember. The lion is courage. The Tin Man is heart. The scarecrow is brain or intelligence. Dorothy is faith. And the witch, the wicked witch, she is fears to be transcended. So we look at all this good stuff, and I do a practice with the Science of Mind magazine every morning. I do the daily guides, and I also am on the Ministers Listserv, which is like a chat group for ministers, and we sometimes act out on that group, but because we can, we're talking to our colleagues. But in this particular day, there was a posting on the guides that resonated with me about fear. There was another one that I had seen from Reverend David Alt posting a poem for women that was about release of fear. And then there was this anonymous quote that was responded to by Reverend Carrie Hunter. She's a Canadian minister. The anonymous was, "Fear knocked on the door, love answered, and no one was there." I'm going to say it again. Fear knocked on the door, love answered, and no one was there. And then Reverend Carrie Hunter said, "Fear has no power over me. Only love remains. I let alone answer. Only love remains. I let alone answer." I screwed it up. Okay. "I let alone and answer every door in my life, and I let love be the answer to every question. I know where I come from, and when I come from, this place in my life, only good can be revealed back to me." So, fear knocked at the door, love answered, and no one was there. I will fear less. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be afraid. It just means I'm going to fear less every day, in every way I can. Don't worry, I'm not doing a whole nother page. When I travel like this, I have to resort to things that I normally wouldn't do. So this is the poem that David Alt posted, and it's not the whole poem because that's fairly long. I just did a paraphrasing. It's by Reverend Sapphire Rose of the Lightworkers of the World, and it's titled, "She Let Go." She let go without a thought or a word. She let go. She just let go of fear. She let go of judgment. She let go of the confluence of opinions swarming around in her head. She let go of the committee of indecision within her. She let go of all the right reasons, wholly and completely, without hesitation or worry. She let go. She didn't ask anyone for advice. She didn't read a book on how to let go. She just let go. She let go of all the memories that held her back. She let go of all the anxiety that kept her from moving forward. She just let go. I think that is so profound. And that's as hard and as easy as it gets. I'm not asking any of you to push yourselves. I'm asking you to do a practice that I do every single day of my life. I pay for my life with attention. That's gratitude for the gift of having this body and the gift of being able to use a fine mind and serve others. I just hold a higher opinion. That's my spiritual practice. for letting go. I let go with a higher opinion of criticizing others, criticizing myself, expecting the worst from people rather than expecting the best. I just strive to keep my mind in the moment, higher opinion for everything and everyone, including myself, including each of you in this world. It's a beautiful thing, holding a higher opinion, walking into a situation that may be problematic and realizing that you don't want to contribute to the problem. You want to be part of the solution. So you put that smile on your face and you walk right in like you're not scared to death. And you give love to the room, to the people who are stressed, to the situation at hand. A simple action of putting a smile on in anticipation of something better happening here than I could have previously imagined or experienced. That's the spiritual practice. Touching the door if you're walking into a challenging situation with work, family, friends, anything. Blessing the door, blessing the building, blessing the people inside as you walk in, putting the smile on your face, hanging any troubles on the trouble tree outside the door. They'll be there. You can pick them up again when you leave. But just taking your gratitude and your grace and your goodness and your high opinion into whatever space you're going to inhabit. Rumi the poet says, wherever you are, be the spirit in that space. Be the soul in that space. That's what we who practice this teaching know better than some others in our world that we cohabit with. We know that we make it a better place individually just by showing up as who we are and how we think and how we believe. So that's what I wanted to leave you with today. And I'll just say again from Holmes, to overcome fear is the greatest adventure in the mind of man or woman. Go out there and be a daring, adventurous spirit in the world. And love yourself and those around you as you do this great work. Namaste. So join with me in this spiritual knowing that as I breathe in the source of all life, it breathes me. It breathes you. It breathes us. This is the source of life. This is the goodness and the grace and the intelligence of the cosmic divine gift to put us in bodies so that we could grow and be the unique God seeds that we are. And so I know for myself that there is no disconnect. I am unified. I am at one. I am at peace. I am a beloved daughter, a beloved child of this incredible intelligence that chose to put me in this body, in this set of circumstances, and supports me in moving through each and every experience I encounter on this adventure called life. Oh, I breathe it in and I know for myself with accepted expectation that life is good and getting better each and every day. And I look for the highest and best, most positive, most wonderful God stuff in everybody else I encounter. And because I look for it, I see it, I experience it, and I find it. That is my claim for myself, for each of you, for each of us that practices this wonderful teaching out in the world that so deserves and desires to receive it. For this I am so very, very grateful. This is my life. This is my life now. This is God's life, and it's a good life, and we're going to have fun with it. And so I give gratitude and thanks to that made me, that lives through me and expresses as me. As together we say, and so it is.